Can you talk about what you consider a good front for a Boston Terrier and kind of explain what exactly you're meaning?
Well, what we have a lot of is a Boston Terrier with their legs tacked onto the front of their chest. So they have the front more of a terrier front, where the front legs should be under the withers. You should be able to drop a line down, and hit the back of the leg, basically, from the withers down. Instead, we've got short upper arms, and so we've got legs that are pushed forward to the front of the dog and not underneath. So structurally, that is not as sound. It's not as balanced. And what you get is dogs that move their legs up and down more from the elbow rather than a reach from the shoulder. So that's an issue in the Boston. So what I want solidified in my program is a good chest on a Boston. Sometimes there's just no chest there. And that is an issue in general. When you look at some of the pictures of some of the older dogs in the breed from the 50s, and you go, well, there's no chest there either. So, and a Boston should never be overdone. They don't need these big giant chests on them. They don't need to look like like a Doberman Pinscher with the big fronts. You don't want that. The Boston is a moderate dog, but they should still have a chest, and the front legs should still be under the withers, and it should be a balanced dog. So that's what I mean as far as a good front. And what I really like is a nice high set arched neck. Not something big and long, not something overdone. Just, like I said, the Boston is a moderate breed. Nothing should be overdone or over exaggerated to that where you notice that above everything else, except maybe their expression in their eyes. That's what catches your attention. But it shouldn't be like, oh wow, that is extra, on the dog. So, but I like a well set neck, and that's one thing that I really liked about. I mentioned that I kept back a male from my foundation stud, and he had the most beautiful front. He had that beautiful arched neck, that beautiful shape. And I think if you've got a good front on a dog, you're automatically going to have a better looking neck, a better neck set. You're just going to have an overall better flow. Of course, I want the whole package, but that's something that I'm a lot more critical of, I think. And I'm not saying that, I have that fixed in my program. There's some that I look at and go, oh my gosh, I need a better chest on that dog. But that is something that I really focus on and try to fix and to solidify.
Mm-hmm.
I describe them as just a little clown. Very fun-loving but lovable. Lots of energy. As far as personality, I mean, they're always just there with you. Like, what are we going to do now? Let's go have fun. That's their personality. As far as their looks, I just think they're such a sharp-looking little dog. They've got that tuxedo look to them, and I think they're a balanced little dog. They're a nice little square dog with a beautiful head. As far as training, they're pretty smart. They can be stubborn about some things. They can have some weird habits, like, I've had them, and I've talked to other breeders that say the same thing. They'll finish the food in their bowl and then, like lift a leg on the bowl, like that's my bowl. And, it's every once in a while you're like, where does that gross habit come from? But, so sometimes I've heard people say, well, they're difficult to house train. And I have had some that have been difficult to house train. But usually by, they may take a few more months. I mean, but all of mine, by the time they're about a year, they're very consistent. They, I've got multiple males in the house. They don't lift their legs in the house. They even with girls in heat around, most of the time, I can trust them about 95% of the time not to be whizzing around, and marking around the house. So, I've got my young ones will use a bell for the back door. So, they're very good about going outside. So, sometimes it takes a little bit extra time, and sometimes they can be a little bit stubborn, but for the most part, my guys are all pretty well trained as far as that goes. They're very, at least mine are. They're very food motivated. So, and I've had them just a stack sometimes within 10, 15 minutes, they'll pick up how to do a stack. And some, of course, are more natural than others. It's interesting, if they come from a line of show dogs, sometimes they automatically just put themselves in a stack, especially if they're a nice, well-balanced dog. It doesn't take much to teach them at all, but there's been some that I can teach them stuff with just minutes. They figure things out, and they're very, they want to please their owners. Which is very, very helpful when you're training them, because you get their attention. With some other breeds, some are aloof, or they don't want to listen, or they kind of have their own ideas. Bostons are all about what you're doing and what you want. I mean, they're game. They're like, okay, what are we doing next? What do you want me to do? And I love that about them, because you don't have to rack your brain trying to get their attention and trying to get them to get on board with whatever you're doing. They're always just right there. So, that's kind of sums up
yeah, perfect.
the breed in general. They're all loose in the house, except for like the two boys I don't let get together. They've never had any spats or anything, but I'm not going to risk it. One of them is an import that I have basically on loan from a very good friend overseas. So I'm very, very careful that the boys aren't going to have any disagreements or anything. So I do separate them. I've got one female that doesn't like one of the other ones, so I keep them separate. So I have a dog room that has a gate. So I can have a couple in there, and then the rest can roam the house, and I can switch them out. However, I have a big backyard that they can go play in, and mine, for the most part, run together as a pack. They get along great. No real issues other than the two girls that don't really get along, and they actually haven't had any spats or anything in quite a long time. But I don't give them any opportunity. And then I have kennels at night. Some of them sleep out on the couch and hang out in the living room and can wander the house at night. But like the younger ones that I know that are going to get into trouble, they're going to, go eat something they're not supposed to, or they're going to, get into mischief because they're still puppies, in the brain. So, those I don't trust, or if I've got one of the boys out, I'll have the other one in a crate at night. So it's about half and half. Mm-hmm. They're house dogs. I mean, they're companion dogs, and I do know people that have them in kennels. And I used to have a big issue with kennels, but I know people that they're with their dogs, full time, and so they're out playing with their dogs. They're getting all sorts of attention. They're getting more attention than a dog that maybe the owner works 50 hours a week and the dogs are in kennels all day or in crates all day. So you can't say that the inside an inside dog the situation is more ideal than an outside dog. It just depends on the situation and how much time that the owner has. But mine are all house dogs. And they get up on the furniture. They aren't allowed downstairs in our bedroom. My husband actually has, he says they pretty much have the rest of the house, but we're going to have one room where they don't sleep on our beds or climb on our pillows, or there's going to be one sacred room in the house that doesn't get overrun with dogs. However, when we have puppies, of course, we bring them downstairs and I'll have them right next to our bed. So, dogs aren't allowed in our room as well. But typically when they're having puppies or something is when they'll be in our room. But otherwise, they pretty much have the run of the house.
All right. And it's a family affair for you guys? Is your husband and your kids share your passion?
Well, I do. I have one daughter that has shown a little bit with me years ago, and then she kind of lost interest in it. And then my youngest daughter, I have 2 daughters and a son, and my youngest daughter showed for a while, really got into it, and it's pretty funny because she'll see a Boston and go, Mom, that's, that one is down nosed, or that one, the muzzle should be more square, or, she'll point out things that I don't realize that she's picked up from me or from the show scene or whatever. And so she's got a lot of Boston knowledge. She's very good at showing. She would help me out. I had 2 littermates that I was showing, and she and I would go back and forth. She'd win one day and I'd win one day, and it was really kind of fun. I love getting beat by my daughter, but she's very good at it, but doesn't have as much interest in it now. She's like when kids hit 15 and they discover boys and they sell their horse. Well, that's kind of that's where she's at right now. Is I don't care about showing dogs anymore, and so. But if she ever decided to get into it, I think, she would have a lot to offer. She's got a lot of knowledge that she's got tucked away that she doesn't use. My son enjoyed going to the dog shows. I think enjoyed more of it as a, kind of a family affair, fun trips and things like that, so everybody loves the dogs. My husband is a huge help with the transport business. I'm gone a lot, or when I go to dog shows and stuff. He is home and he takes care of the dogs, and he's fantastic at helping out. Huge support. And although he's not really into the showing and stuff, he does like the dogs. He sometimes doesn't like to admit it, but he curls up with the puppies and he plays with them and stuff, and so he's not very good at hiding the fact that he does like the Boston a lot.
Right.
So some years I've gone like about every other weekend for probably 8 months. Of course, with COVID, a lot of the shows were canceled, so I haven't gone to a lot lately. But this year so far, I've probably hit 3 or 4 regular shows, and then went to nationals in Tucson in May, and that was a lot of fun. Things were almost back to normal, which was really nice. We had nationals in Atlanta last fall, which was kind of, it had to be rescheduled, and it had to be kind of, switched around with all the new regulations and everything, and a lot of things had to be redone, and so they put it together the best they could, and it was a little odd, but everybody was so happy to go and actually, go to a dog show. And we, it was a pretty decent turnout considering people overseas couldn't come, and a lot of people didn't want to travel, or a lot of people were afraid of the risks. It was pretty cool. They were still able to hold one last year, and then this year was almost back to normal. And I think next year will be, back to normal nationals again. But, it's been really nice to get back out in the ring again. And this last show that I went to in Canby, it was so hot that they allowed everybody to ditch the masks, which was really nice. And so it felt pretty normal, even though the temperature ranged from 95 to 113 that weekend. It was really nice just to be back at the show. And I think a lot of people were willing to put up with that heat just to, have that fun and that camaraderie again. You really miss being around all your friends and the other breeders and going to the shows. I'm pretty hooked. Oh, that's a good one. I don't know if it necessarily would take unlimited resources or time, but I am fascinated by the hairless breeds, and I don't think that's something that's even practical or something I would attempt. But I think the Cholos are just incredibly cool. And the other, the Peruvian hairless, I think is a really cool dog. And I would love to just play around with them and maybe not get them and raise them and whatever. But I just think it's different. It's fun. It's, I think it would be fun just to play around with them. There's so many breeds that I just absolutely adore. But that one just got my curiosity going, I think, is the hairless breeds.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually been incredibly busy because people don't want to leave and they haven't been able to fly to travel. And a lot of what my business has been in the last year has been taking dogs back and forth across the border in and out of Canada.
Right.
Because the borders are shut down. So I am an approved carrier to go back and forth. So I can do it. It's pricier for the clients, unfortunately, mm-hmm. because they've got to go through a broker because it's a commercial transport. It may not be a commercial purchase or commercial import, but the transport itself is commercial. So there's some extra hoops they have to go through, but I can make it happen. So people that have sent their dogs down for training and showing before COVID hit and can't get their dogs back, I can help them, or people that have purchased dogs. A lot of people have purchased dogs in the U.S. And then can't bring them home. So, I've been doing a lot of transporting puppies back and forth as well for their new owners. So that has kept me local and it's kept me very busy. Typically, I'd be taking 3 or 4 trips a year that are pretty long distance, like I'll head to the East Coast or make a big loop down to Texas or something like that. But I've been able to stay local and only have made probably 2 big trips in the last year that have taken me out of the Pacific Northwest. So and then we've been doing a lot of flight nannying as well. People not wanting to be exposed or they just don't want to leave. That has increased tremendously. My daughter's been helping me out with that. She'll go get the dog in another state. She'll fly it into Spokane, and then because the border crossings have to be done by ground, a lot of them all, then take the dog and drive them across the border, and we'll kind of like tag team this transport into Canada, or I'll bring it out of Canada and then give it to her, and then she, hops on a plane in Seattle and takes the dog to where it's going. So we've been extremely busy, and I don't know if it's all COVID or if a lot of it is word of mouth. I just have gotten a lot of inquiries and stayed, super busy for the last year now.